You are the bane of my existence, the object of my desires. What do you mean? We got this really epic slow burn enemies to lovers. Too much. It was giving illicit affairs by Taylor Swift. Like Daphne, season 1 was about Daphne's journey. She was on the cusp of adulthood. It was about her innocence. It was about to be an integral part of the show. Him proposing to Edwina, that never happens in the book, like ever. And he had this weird feeling of like he was conscious of his mortality. So Edwina's character changed. Kate's like, you're my sister, then Edwina's like half sister, and it's like,
and it goes a little something like, you are summer and after I'll keep you.
hi guys, welcome to my review lifestyle academia channel. My name is Agape. Like the love. If you're new here, then hi, this is a safe space. Unless you don't like Bridgerton, then this is a really weird video for you to be watching. But if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on one of my videos once again. As you guys can tell by the title, I'm going to be reviewing Bridgerton season 2. And if you also know, then you're like, Agape, the show came out yesterday. But sorry guys, like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm here, I'm gonna talk about it. So yeah, the show came out yesterday, but this review is a bit different because I'm going to be reviewing it in comparison to the books. I did a review of season 1 when season 1 came out, but also reviews are not new to my channel, especially like television shows. I've done a whole bunch of them, so I'll link all of that below. But without any further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the main thing that I'm going to be talking about in this video is Kate and Anthony's romance and like their relationship, because that's what the main like arc line, the storyline is. And then I'll mention side characters and other things that happen a bit later on in the video, but they're going to be my main focus, because when I compare it to the book is mainly about that, so that's where I'm getting a lot of like my source material from, and the talking points come from that. But my first point is to actually talk about Kate and Anthony, the book versus the movie. I don't know if I'm gonna make I'm too lazy, I don't know if I'm gonna put points here, but I'm going to be going through the book to the movie. Okay, so if you are like me and you've read the Bridgerton books, and you were excited about the series being adapted by Julia Quinn, you would have been like, whoa, it's Julia Quinn, right? You would have been like, whoa, I'm super excited, this is going to be super fun. So you watched the first show and you were like, okay, I get it, because it's just like the book. And then you watch the second show, like the series 2, and you're like, wait a second, a lot has changed. It's giving Ed Sheeran, Taylor, everything has changed type of energy. So where do I begin? There's so many changes that it's like, I don't know if I should be... Okay, so I'll tell you guys what happens in the book, and then tell you guys what happens in the series. But if you don't want to know what happens in the book, I will put timestamps so you guys can follow on with other things. So the way that they meet is obviously different to how they meet in the books, but with how they met, I'm like okay with that, because they're obviously going to embellish things and change things up for a series to a show. Like if you want to read the books type of energy, right? So they're obviously going to make things a bit more dramatic, and yeah, for the sake of like the theatrical performance, I understand that things are going to be different, but when things start to really change is, I want to say, the library scene, but mainly the stinging of the bee. So we have the library scene in the show, and I should say in the book first. In the book, they have the library scene, and she's waiting under the desk, and Kate is waiting under the desk, and then he sees her, and then they have a kiss, and that's their first kiss, and it's super passionate, and he's like, why are you following me, da-da-da, I think you meant to hide here. And she's like, no, I just came in, yeah, whatever. And then, but the main thing is after the bee sting, right? So in the book, what happens is Kate is stung by a bee, and then Anthony's obviously, he's like, oh my goodness, flashbacks, my dad, blah 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 blah, and then he wants to like get the poison out. But obviously books are going to be even more dramatic. Even saying this is hilarious. Books are going to be more dramatic. So and Anthony, they say Anthony, but I just say Anthony. He thinks that there's venom in her like her bee sting, right? So he's like, no, I need to suck the venom out. So like the bee sting was here, so he obviously puts his mouth here and he sucks it out, whatever, right? And then the mothers walk past, because this happens in the garden, similar to how it happens in the TV show. This happens in the garden and you're like, what? And then people see, so Lady Featherington sees, Lady Danbury sees, and Lady Bridgerton, they all see, and they're like, what? And then Kate and Anthony is like, no, this is not what it looks like. I was stung by a bee. I'm trying to get the poison out, mother, like, you know, my dad, whatever. And so Lady Featherington, she's like, nah, you lot need to get married ASAP. So that's when things change, because in the series nobody saw them, whereas in the show, whereas in the book they saw them, and because they were in an uncompromised, they were in a compromised like situation, inappropriate situation, they had to get married, right? Because people saw them and they were like, this is out in the open, anyone could have seen you guys, you need to get married, so you need to get married now. So that's what happens, right? They get married, and so like, so this whole him proposing to Edwina, that never happens in the book, like, ever. So they get married, and then, but how do I say this? So they get married quite like half, not even halfway, like 40% into the book. But Anthony, when he embarks on his journey to find a wife, he's very specific that he doesn't want to find a partner that he can love. He's very much like, this is going to be a duty thing, this is my responsibility, she just needs to give me children, I don't need to love her, whatever. And we get that being emphasized in the show, right? Very much a thing about duty. I'm the firstborn child, I need to do all of these things. So like that idea is prevalent in the show. It's not to say that it isn't, right? But in the book there's a lot more backstory behind it, and that will bring me on to my second point about like traumas and stuff. But I think, okay, so yeah, so he's very pragmatic. They get married, and then wedding night and so on and so forth. But he's adamant that he doesn't want to love her, like that he can't love her. But through them sharing about each other and their intimacy and stuff like that, like over time they fall in love, and it's gonna be on to my second point about how they fall in love. But yeah, so that is how the book sort of followed. So they got married, similar to how Simon and Daphne ended up getting married, and then the other half of the book was about them in marriage falling in love. Whereas with Simon and Daphne, they were already in love, but he just had this fear of like bringing children into the world because of his trauma, right? Whereas them, they weren't in love when they got married. They just had this like insane chemistry that you can see, right? So that's how the book goes. And you guys all know how the series went. So bee sting, no one saw them, then they feel like, oh, I feel like we're gonna be in love, but then Anthony proposes to Edwina, then things get messed up. Edwina sees the feelings, the wedding day, that doesn't happen. And then towards the end, obviously we know that they do end up being together, they confess their feelings, what, right? Okay, my second point is about within the book, right? This is something that we didn't get. So now you guys know how it goes, right? Now here's where the criticisms lie in. But I think it's a criticism more, but also a discussion, because I'm interested to see like which way this could have gone. Like I can see both ways, but let me explain it. So in the book, an important thing about their relationship was the shared trauma that they had over losing someone, over losing a parental figure, a loved one, etc, right? So Anthony, obviously he sees his dad die. In the book he didn't actually see his dad die. He was coming from university, and his sister was like, oh my word, he's like father, and he was 18, right? And his dad died when his dad was 39 when he died. And this was something that plagued Anthony throughout his whole life, and he had this weird feeling of like he was conscious of his mortality. And so he had this thing of like being sure that he was going to die at 39. Like, this was something that he believed in his bones to be true. Like, he believed in his guts, like, 39, I'm gone, right? So that explained his rakish, like his rake-like tendencies, and why he had a mistress, and even if he did have a wife, oh, not the police, oh, even if he did have a wife, that he would still have mistresses, because he wouldn't allow himself to fall in love and have that great devastation of leaving his wife widowed and being heartbroken, similarly to how his mom was when their dad passed away, right? So we get that, right? But so we have that in the show, but we don't have this looming idea of why Anthony is so like against falling in love. Like, he's against it because not only because of like family pride and stuff like that, but because he had this deep conscious like understanding that, and maybe it was delusional, but to him it was real, because of the trauma that he losing his dad at 18 was, right? That he was like, I can't, and he also canonized his dad. Like, his dad was this hero to him, right? After his dad passed away, his dad was like the best person he knew, and so he couldn't see himself outliving his dad, and so he wouldn't allow himself to even love, because it would bring in the heartbreak and all of that stuff. He was fearful for that. But then whereas Kate, her trauma lied in, so we see in the show that they talk about how Kate's mom died when she was younger. I don't even know if they mentioned it. We just know Kate had it. Oh no, she did say Kate's mom died when she was younger, and she had a dad obviously, and the dad married Mary Sheffield, right? But with Kate, she has this thing for storms, and they tackled on it in like one scene in the show about how she didn't sleep well with storms, and that's why she was in the library reading the books, right? But if we go deeper, and the book brings this in, right, it was about this idea of and this was like a traumatic experience that was very insane. But basically, Kate was present when her mom died, and it was a stormy night, and like the storms like broke through the windows, and she was trying to hold her mom, and like she was present when her mom like breathed the last breath, like took her last breath, yeah, no, because anyways, took her last breath. She was present in that moment, so she gets these nightmares because of storms. She doesn't sleep well, and this happened when she was a young kid, and she couldn't actually remember this. But then there was one night where they had already been married, because remember, they got married quite early in the books, right? And she had these nightmares and stuff like that, and he was present with her. Anthony was present with her in one of these nightmares, and she was like mumbling in her sleep, and she was like uttering her mom's name. She calls Mary, and she calls her mom, right? But even though Mary was like a mother figure to her, so she's uttering her in her sleep, mom, and Anthony's like, wait, what's happening? You're having a nightmare, blah blah blah, what's happening? And then he just tries to comfort her. Then in the morning they wake up, and he's like, yeah, you had a nightmare, this is, yeah, we need to actually speak about this. And Mary tells her the story about when she was younger, she witnessed her mother's death, and like the trauma of that, and Anthony being with her in those moments, and like him almost opening his heart out and allowing himself to fall in love. That was something that was very evident in the books, and I think it explained their hesitations and explained why they were so resistant towards the idea of love and companionship. And it was very prevalent in the book, but in the series not so much. And I was seeing a lot of tweets about people finding Kate or Anthony like annoying, or like not understanding their frustrations as to why they didn't want to do certain things. But it's like, whoa, the books laid it out so like obviously, like this was why this happened. So yeah, that was my second point about like their trauma in the book, right? And we see it a little bit in the show, but I think in the show the trauma, and like it was heavily emphasized about this like idea of like family and duty, and I think that's what they relied heavily on, about how they were both two people in very similar situations, trying to put their families first above themselves and leaving their own desires to the end. So that's what he was trying to do, because he's the firstborn. That's what she was trying to do to find her sister a suitor. That's where the show like brought all the Another thing that I wanted to speak about was Edwina's character change. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Edwina's character change was something that was very interesting, and this was a byproduct of changing the storyline, right? Because they wanted to go for more like a type of what do you call it, a love triangle, right? A love triangle. And because they wrote that change, there was a book change that also needed to happen, because in the book, obviously we know that I said that like Anthony and Kate, they get married like quite early on, and Edwina's quite happy about it. She was like, I always knew that there was something between you guys. She even giggles. She's like, yeah, I always knew there was something between you guys. And she's like, well, and then when she is going to get a suitor, then Anthony's like, oh yeah, we should invite him over, and like I'll pay for your dowry and stuff like that. And Kate gets so emotional about it, and that also makes Kate fall in love with him more, because she just sees how he loves for her family. And yeah, then Edwina's like, oh my word, I've always wondered what it was like to have a brother, all of this type of energy, right? Whereas because they changed it in the book, and they tried to like prolong this whole like love triangle situation, Edwina had a lot of animosity for Kate, and it was such a interesting thing, because I'd never seen it like that. Like that moment when Edwina is like, oh, Kate's like, you're my sister, then Edwina's like half sister, and it's like like book Edwina would never say such a thing. So it was such an interesting pivot, but to be fair, it gave her a lot of more character, because I think towards the end she was also being able to, like, you could see Edwina was on the cusp of like adulthood, and she was making those decisions for herself, and like she was being tough, and she was deciding like, you know what, my sister or Lord Bridgerton, none of you guys are going to decide what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to do it because I want to do it, and that's what my decision is going to be. But it was just interesting seeing her character like that, because it was just so, how do I say, it was just so out of the, you didn't know it. Like, I had read the book, I did a reread of the book like the day before the show came out, just so that I could refresh my mind. And I found that so ironic, because like 20% of the book was in the show. Not enough of the show lashings. Let's talk about good things about the show. Well, we'll just talk about the show now in general, because I'm done comparing between the show and the book. But I want to know what your thoughts were. Did you think there were certain scenes that, like, I saved this one tweet that someone tweeted, and they were listing all the scenes that were in the book that wasn't in the show, and it's like, whoa, but it's true. So then I read, there was like wait, okay, so somebody says, disregarding Kate's trauma about her mother's death, her fear for thunder, Anthony telling Kate he didn't expect to live past 38, and that's why he was afraid to love, the library scene, their first kiss, somebody was listing all the things that wasn't in the story, but like a lot of that happened once they were married, you see. And so because they shifted the storyline, a lot of those scenes had to fall out. Like, it didn't make sense to have them in if they were married. Like, they can't be aside each other in bed, she's having these nightmares about the thunder, if they can't be seen in the same vicinity as each other. Like, do you see what I mean? So because they changed the storyline, now I'm like, okay, they changed this, so what are they going to give us because of that, right? What are they going to add to it? And because they did that, we got this really epic slow burn enemies to lovers. And you know what, I'm not even mad. Like, yes, my kanthony like scenes in the book was so, like, even the first time they like were intimate after their wedding night was even hilarious, because they were fighting in the midst of it, and I'm like, these people are not serious. However, we got a certain level of chemistry and a certain level of yearning that I haven't seen in shows or in movies since Pride and Prejudice. And like, in Pride and Prejudice we get it a little bit, this we got it, right? So in Pride and Prejudice there's that like weird, there's that one scene with the hands where the guy, Mr. Darcy, he's like, so like they graze past each other, and he does this thing with his hand, almost like he's like so like enamored by her and so affected by her that he does this twitch, right? But we had that to the utmost degree. We had noses touching, we had like in sync breathing, we had just the almost kisses that you were like, why don't you just kiss? Goodness, like the yearning, the chemistry, the slow burn of everything, like the anticipation of it all was there. And I think also, right, because if you notice with both books, if you think about the books, with both books, it was like a similar forte in terms of like, no, forte is like about volume. That doesn't make sense. It was a similar rhythm in terms of like, they were seen in a weird situation, now they're married, right? Even though the first book, it was more like marriage of convenience because they're married now, even though they did have some feelings for each other, it was more that like they were married and now, oops. Whereas number 2, it was like a marriage of convenience, but also like an enemies to lovers type of like trope, where it's like there was like animosity and wait, am I getting that right? The first one was like marriage of convenience, brother's best friend, and then the second one was more marriage of convenience and enemies to lovers. That is what it was, exactly. But the thing is, I think even to the creators and the producers, I understand why they made it different, because maybe people would have been like, okay, this is too similar to the first book, like this is too similar to what happens in number 1, so how can we, like, if we're gonna make a show based on 8 seasons, right, if they want to give a season to each sibling, they're going to have to switch things up and order things around and move things about and all those sorts of things. So it makes sense, like I understand it now why they did that. Like I was thinking about this like this morning when I was finishing the episode. I was like, I kind of see why, because if you think about the books, like with historical romances, sometimes they can become repetitive. That's why I can't read a lot of them at the same time, because it's very similar tropes. Like there's a lot of them is marriage of convenience, pardon, a lot of them is marriage of convenience, or like so yeah, a lot of them that I've read are marriage of convenience. I'm trying to list more, but the best ones are marriage of convenience, so because it's like marriage of convenience and forced proximity, and you have to be together, you have to like learn to like fall in love. That's what the book was. Kate and Anthony's the Viscount Who Loved Me was very much like a forced proximity, and they had to be with each other and they couldn't stand each other that much, but the show just took it to an extreme and paid off brilliantly. Like, so at the end, like I can have my grievances for certain scenes that I wanted and certain things that like I thought would have been so like beneficial, because in the book, oh, it's so sweet in the book. So we know that Anthony has this fear of like not being able to live up to like a certain age, right? And then it does this epilogue where it flashes forward to like his 39th birthday, so he lives past that date. And it's just, I don't know, there was something just so beautiful about that obviously you won't get those scenes, and it's but we don't know if along the line, like in a few years time, when they do 5th or 6th seasons and bring those people back, that they could touch on that. Like, it's not to say that they can never, but yeah. Oh my goodness, so I talked about, oh my word, the chemistry, the chemistry, like them, they passed the chemistry class like what, like A star, like first class. Like it was so palpable, like you could feel it through the screen. It's so like I was floored, you guys. Like I was genuinely floored. Simone Ashley and Anthony this is what I keep doing. I keep saying Anthony Bailey, which I know it's Jonathan Bailey. I keep saying Anthony Bailey, but like this season they did something, and I could feel like both actors gave everything. Like they gave it their all. There were so many moments where I was like, whoa, you got me there. Like there were certain things that they said and I was like, no, like I felt something, like like it was so good. Like the chemistry, it was there. So I wasn't even mad. Like I was eagerly waiting to see what would happen next. Like if someone catch them, if this, like the glances, the eyes that like say too much. It was giving Illicit Affairs by Taylor Swift. Like, you taught me a secret language I can't speak with anyone else. Oh no, it was giving, like it gave. So I can't even be mad at that. And I think the chemistry between the two actors, like they delivered. Like enough of watching shows with like there's no chemistry. There was chemistry there, and like I thought the chemistry in that relationship and like the anticipation of everything, that was better to me than season 1, even given that a lot of the plot lines from the book wasn't in it. It just shows how good they were and how it just worked. Like, I'm a sucker for yearning and hands, and like, oh, I'm a sucker for that. Like, I'm a sucker for those glances. No, I'm obsessed. So yeah. But speaking on that and bringing on that to the next point about the intimacy scenes, as you know, I'm a Christian, so no sex before marriage, guys. But this was a very interesting thing that I thought about. People were comparing season 1 and season 2 about how like there was a lot of intimacy in season 1, right, especially between Daphne and Simon, and then in season 2 not that much. In like there was like a 1-2 scenes with and the second scene you wouldn't really call it a scene. It was more like quick type of, okay, I don't even want to say anything. But right, what I can say is season's 1 purpose, it made sense, right? Because season 1 was about Daphne's journey. She was on the cusp of adulthood. It was about her innocence. It was about her journey through she was the diamond of the first water, right? So it was about her being introduced to the marriage market and her innocence, which is compared to Simon's like rake like tendencies, right? So it made sense for the intimacy to be an integral part of I'm saying the intimacy as opposed to sex, but it's just but like it made sense for that to be an integral part of the show once they were married, because that was about like, it was about like the narrative of the first season was about how mothers weren't teaching their daughters about certain things, so that Daphne didn't even know how to come with child, like to conceive, because she didn't know all of that stuff. So sex was an integral part in the first season, whereas in season 2 Kate is a spinster, right? She's 26. He's a rake. It's about the familial duty. It's about all of this stuff. So people complaining that there wasn't a lot of intimacy scenes in season 2, I get that, but also given the again, it goes back to the shift in narrative, right? It goes back to the shift, because in the book, obviously there's intimacy there's intimate scenes in the book, and that aids in them falling in love. However, because they changed it and because they didn't get married like halfway during the book, as like in the series, they had to show their intimacy in other ways, and they did that through the glances, through the looks, through the dancing, through things like unspoken. They did it through that. But if you understand that narrative, it makes sense why there were less, because it just doesn't work in that regard. You could argue, and like they just had one scene, you could argue there could have been another one in the end, but I don't know, child. Like, I thought it was good. I thought we've reached the same conclusion as Simon and Daphne's, but we just took a different route to it. Like with the romances, if you read romance novels or you watch rom-coms or like there's different ways in which people are going to fall in love and get to that conclusion. Sometimes it's the tension, and it's the angst, and it's all of that stuff, and it's the passion, all of that. Or it's going to be a very much like you fall in love first sight and then boom bang whatever, right? So there's different routes to get to where you need to be, but I thought in the end I was pleasantly, like, I was really happy with how it turned out. So I wasn't mad. People were up in arms. I'm like, child, please I thought this was a classy party. Like, where's the decorum? Where is the class? Like, please. Like, how are you mad? Another thing that I actually touched on in my commentary on season 1 was the music. I thought first, when I saw the sign, like the list, right, I was like, okay, I thought we're gonna get more poppy songs. But I stood corrected. The songs worked so well. The songs that were chosen. We had Sign of the Times by Harry Styles when they were in the ballroom and they were doing a dance, and it was oh my word, the most brilliant thing ever. It just worked. When I heard those strings, oh, I was like, why are we? And then also when I clocked, when I was watching, I like rewatched that scene with the dance, and then it's like, why are we always stuck in running from the bullet? But like, just like this idea of like like trying to avoid the inevitable. Like I just thought it worked so well. And then also we had Dancing on My Own. The like orchestral version of that was so stunning, so stunning. Wait, no, I think I'm wrong. That was Dancing on My Own was for that scene, and then Sign of the Times was for like the wedding, when they were walking into the wedding. Yes, Sign of the Times was when they were walking into the wedding scene. Yeah, because I was like, whoa, this is an insane song to pick. And then also it was What About Us by Pink. It was an orchestral version, and it was like, oh my word, because when you think of the lyrics, it was like, what about us, what about all the broken happy ever afters? And I was like, guys, this was episode 7 where it was like you didn't know where things were going, like you just didn't know where it was going, right? And it worked so well. And I just love that element to the show, that like even though it's like Regency era, there's flashes of realism and being in like the modern world, because it's like a modern twist to the historical romance era. So I thought that was brilliant. Can we just talk about certain things that were said? Oh my, no. We had in season 1, we had the iconic like I burn for you, and then also that speech that Simon gives when he's asking to get Daphne's hand in marriage. It's like, to meet the most beautiful of girls is one thing, but to meet your best friend, that is another thing. Something like that. That it was insane. However, nothing is going to compare to you are the bane of my existence, the object of my desires. What do you mean? Oh my goodness, guys, you don't understand. I was floored. Literally, the line, I'm gonna read it out to you guys. It says, my honor is hanging by a thread that grows more precarious with every moment in your presence. You're the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires. Day and night I dream of you. What? Who says that? My expectations is just like too high for real people, like, because who's gonna compete with fictional Anthony Bridgerton? No one, and he's not real. Like, he's not a real person, guys. This is just too much. So that line killed me. And then also, and it was like, say you don't care for me at all, tell me you feel nothing and I will walk away. And I'm like, guys, please, like, I need to breathe here. Like, I need to breathe. It was just too excellent. No, like, don't talk to me ever. Like, nobody talk to me. I'm gonna be in my room for the whole day. Like, who says that? Such beautiful lines. Okay, since it isn't the Kate and Anthony show, which to me it feels like it should just solely be, there were other characters, like, contrary to popular belief, there were other characters in the show. So, oh my word. So I think, who do I think is gonna be the focus of season 3? I think it's either gonna be Eloise, they're gonna show something random, or it's gonna be Colin and Penelope, because they've been hinting at that for time now, and I'm kind of sick of them. Like, he needs to just open his eyes and realize that that's her. Like he just needs to. So, and Shonda Rhimes said that they aren't sticking to the same like order of books, so it could be, I don't think it's gonna be Benedict, right? Because they said that he's going away. He got that scholarship program thing, whatever, so he's going away, right? So I don't think it's gonna be Benedict. I think it's gonna be like someone else. Who's it? I think it could be Eloise, or it could be Colin and Penelope. Like, I think they've been hinting at them for so long that, like, why wait to season 4? Like, yeah. Or it could be Eloise and she just surprises us. But I'm interested because Eloise is such a feminist, like, character, like, to the bone, that, like, she doesn't even, like, I don't even feel like she believes in, like, the ideas of marriage and stuff, especially given in such, like, Regency era type of energy it is. I wonder how they're going to portray her being in love with someone, and it's giving like Joe Marsh Little Woman type vibes. Like I wonder and if the love is going to be tangible and believable to the audience, knowing how we know her to be. And that's not to say that people who are like super feminist can't be in love and stuff. That's not what I'm saying entirely. Like that's not exactly what I'm saying, but I'm just like, given her apprehensions to like to accustom herself with how things are in the society. Like even when she was supposed to be like introduced, right, she was so apprehensive about it. Like I'm interested to see what happens with that, and obviously who gets casted and stuff like that. But yeah, with new characters comes more interesting things. But with what we got there, I don't know why the Featheringtons got so much screen time. I'm sorry, like I don't really care about you. Honestly, I don't. So I was very puzzled by that. But apart from that, and I thought that the Featherington man that was going to come and live with them was going to at least be a little attractive. He wasn't. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then also obviously Eloise knows that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. Lady Whistledown. So that is insane to me. Again, it only gets discovered in the book 4, so by them showcasing that to us at the end of season 1 was already a big shock. I was like, whoa, the readers only knew this 4 books in. So I'm interested to see what that looks like for their relationship, because I think they're also really dependent on each other. They were best friends, and so for like ages, as like we can see. So I'm interested to see how the relationship looks like once they aren't friends anymore, and I don't know how long they'll be like that for, especially if either of them is supposed to be the next love interest in the future. And I think they're writing the show now. We're probably gonna get it maybe December next year. I feel like December next year, or maybe 2020. Don't say 2024. I want to say December next year. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, as I said, like especially like not having your best friend there when you're in the process of all of that, and how awkward it would be if Penelope is courting Colin, and then Eloise is not on her side, and she's like, oh, they don't know your secret, blah blah blah. Like what? But yeah guys, those were my thoughts and my grievances and my ideas. Please let me know what you thought, whether you were a big fan of the changes, whether you weren't. I would love to get a dialogue going. Let's talk about it. If you are upset, if you weren't, what's the scene that you wish there was in, what's the scene that you wish was taken out of it. Let me know all of those things in the comments below. If this is my first video that you're watching and you want to see more that I talk about, like series and stuff like that, then I will put that playlist up there so you guys can see that. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, do all of those amazing things, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.